This week we're driving one of Europe's greatest road trips. In fact, one of the world's greatest road trips, the North Coast 500. 500 miles of epicness, welcoming fishing villages, caves with polar bears as visitors, more caves with waterfalls in them. We meet the locals and hit some beaches. To be honest, we're not sure if we will fit it all in, but here goes. Stick around to the end to see how far along the road we get. With an 8-week-old Ben, who knows? We're the Newbys, a family of travellers with big dreams. I'm Tara, this is John, and this year we were joined by our little boy Crusoe. 2020 sent the world for a loop, and it sent us on a journey. Not wanting to waste a single minute or second of it, we embraced van life and travelled to over 20 countries in Europe in our self-converted campervan. With the arrival of Crusoe into the world, our priorities remain the same: to make every moment matter, to take this little family around the world and to teach our children about huge horizons, a life full of opportunity and adventure around every corner. So we built a bigger van, and we just couldn't wait to get it on the road. And before it was even finished, we headed off to Scotland for the road trip of a lifetime. Last week we were in the Outer Hebrides, and boy, what amazing islands they are. If you haven't already, please do check out last week's video. The link is below in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe. We'd love to have you with us. But for now, on with the show.
Well, I don't know, darling, how you feel about it, but I feel that we've kind of closed the chapter on the islands and are now heading back to the mainland for the next part of the adventure. And what I especially love about what we've just done is that it feels almost timeless. And I almost want to be starting it over again so that we can redo the whole last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. It really has been amazing. And weirdly, John and I said to each other last night when we came off of Euston and had a night on Skye, we were like, do you know, I could go home right now just because I'm so content with what we've done. But we both woke up this morning after an excellent night in the van last night and are super excited to head back onto the mainland and try and tackle as much of the NC 500 as we can. Obviously we have a little baby, so things are kind of a bit fluid, but we're just going to take it slow, take it easy, and see where we end up. This is the moment where we officially turn left onto the NC 500.
I was just about to ask, which way do we go?
I heard you asking.
All right, so Tara has just been reading a little bit about this road that goes to Applecross. I am a little bit nervous about driving it. So apparently it is a tight road, it's a single track, it's the steepest road in the United Kingdom. Pretty cool. And for camper vans and larger vehicles and people who are not very good drivers or new to driving, it's been advised not to travel along it. So we've got a van here that's about, well, 6 meters. I don't know, it's a long wheelbase Renault. I don't know how long it is, 6 meters and something. I think we should have a go. I think we should. What's the worst case scenario?
I think we should have a go. It's called Bealach na Ba, which means Pass of the Cattle. And for anybody Scottish watching, if I've said that really wrong, I do apologise. There's a camper in front of us. Hello, friends. I've been feeling really nervous that we have only seen tiny little wee cars coming up here. It's like, oh no, we're those people. We're not meant to be doing it.
Little Crusoe has just missed the drive of the UK. Fast asleep all the way through it.
Fast asleep. Always fast asleep. We are lucky we have a baby that just sleeps in the car, love.
We are.
Well, darling, I think you can say you made it.
I think we can. We did see 2 or 3 small camper vans on the road. Interestingly, they were all hire camper vans. I'm not sure that you perhaps want to take your own camper van up that road. It is a bit gnarly. Look at this view, it's beautiful up here. Well, that's it. We made it to the car park in Applecross. Just pulled up here and we're going to have some soup and some lunch.
Yum yum. So that's lunch. We're now in Applecross and I think we might go and have a little walk around, see what it's about. So we have no idea what this place is, but it is amazing. There's the most incredible feel to it, isn't there? This forest is like, I don't know, there's a magic here. And there's all these old walls and the shapes, you can definitely see the shapes of old buildings. And I feel it's pretty ancient, I reckon. Applecross was one of the first settlements in Scotland.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I suppose what we'll do is we'll do some more videoing and then we'll do a voiceover. You'll go and Google it.
And then we'll tell you all about it.
Cool.
In the end, we couldn't find out much about this enchanting forest and its ancient ruins. We do know that the area around Applecross has many archaeological sites due to the very early settlement of the region, dating back to the Mesolithic times over 15,000 years ago. Of course, these stone buildings won't be that old, but it felt pretty good to be a part of the history anyway.
It's obviously a settlement. I wonder when they built these stone cottages, whether the trees were here.
I was just wondering exactly that.
Really? Something else to Google.
There are lots of trails and hikes around Applecross, and we were tempted to hang around a few days and hike them all, but the excitement of the open road and what was around the next corner drew us onwards and along the coast road on to the next place for some much awaited lunch. First up of the day is this little town called Shieldaig. I think that's how you say it. Looks like that. Shieldaig. And there is a really cool smokehouse here that does hot and cold smoked salmon. And we would like some smoked salmon for lunch. So
Yum, yum.
we're going to go and see if we can find it and then probably grab a cup of coffee. But isn't it just idyllic?
Perfect.
Yes, please.
Good.
Well, darling, that's lunch sorted.
Yes, it is.
Yum, yum.
Alex, the guy who owns the place, I think he owns the place anyway.
Yeah, so it sounded like it anyway.
Anyway, he was telling us all about his smoking techniques, which is particularly interesting to me because when I lived in Finland, I was working at a smoked fish restaurant.
Yeah.
So I kind of know the techniques and how it's done and how the salmon is salted and how it's smoked. He is a particularly friendly chap, and we have paid how much for this?
£16 for
£16. So we've got a pate and we've got a side of
and a side of or a chunk of hot smoked salmon, and that was from the Loch Smokehouse in Shieldaig.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to it. It looks delicious.
Yum yum.
Okay. On to the next place.
Gotta try to get the little boy into his seat without waking him up.
Let's see whether we can do it. No problems. All cool. Come on, little man. Wow, look at that.
Isn't that the most spectacular view? Surely this must be one of the greatest road trips in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful road.
The NC 500 is as much about the drive and the journey as it is about the destinations, and there are a myriad of places to stop along the way. We know of people that have taken months to explore this 500-mile stretch of road. Our next stop was to a 4-mile hike through a glacial valley where we were heading to some caves which were once upon a time home to polar bears. On the way, I spotted a beach that was pink. The sun was shining, and so we needed a stop to have a quick paddle before heading on to the Bone Caves.
bears, bones and bleak lands. We are heading in that direction into the mountains to look at a cave. We're not sure what it is, but it's a 4-kilometre walk there and a 4-kilometre walk back. We're worried a bit about the rain, but Crusoe's nicely wrapped up and we've got our rain jackets and
Let's give it a go.
let's give it a go. So in one of these caves that we're about to go and see was found a polar bear skull, and that skull had been there for over 20,000 years, making it a very, very old polar bear. But that's quite remarkable that there were polar bears here in Scotland.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So apparently this cave is the best site of glacial period animal bones in Scotland.
Okay, all right.
They found it about 100 years ago.
The bones aren't in the caves anymore, they've been moved to a museum, but it's kind of cool to go and have a look at the cave. And I think we're going to have to do a little bit more research. Why were the bones in that cave in the first place?
Yeah, I was trying to read it, but there's no signal in the NC500, so we'll have to wait.
We'll have to wait.
Look how amazing this is. And actually you can see the water coming up underneath, you can see where it's rippling. But you kind of get to this point and there's a little bit coming off the wall, but not enough to make that. So it's all coming up from underneath the ground. How cool is that?
The river is gone. All of the water straight from the ground.
The walk to the caves was an absolute pleasure, following a roaring river in the beginning that seemingly had no beginning, along the valley that appeared to go on forever. The climb is fairly steep at the end, so do come with a good pair of hiking shoes. At the top, you're rewarded with terrific views and can explore freely the numerous caves set deep into the side of the cliff face.
So we're leaving these caves and we're heading further north to some more caves, but this time, instead of being in the side of a mountain, they're on the beach.
They're on the beach, in the side of a cliff called Smoo Caves.
Smoo Caves.
Smoo Caves.
That rolls off the tongue nicely, doesn't it?
As with all things on the NC500, we didn't make it right away to the next set of caves. Far too much to see and do along the winding roads. Instead, we found a gorge that definitely needed to be explored.
So we've just had about, I don't know, an hour's worth of driving.
I reckon, yeah.
It's been super beautiful drive with sunshine, reggae, alongside some rivers and through a really beautiful valley as well.
Yeah, amazing. So we've just arrived at the Sherlock Gorge, which I'm super excited about. It looks like a nice cascade of waterfalls down through the gorge. Google reviews say the pictures don't do it justice, and
Crusoe's smiling his head off at us. Hello, little man.
Oh, darling.
Yeah, and there's a couple of walks here. One is very short, only 300 meters, and the other one is what?
About a kilometre.
About
apparently.
a kilometre.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Check it out.
I'm gonna go hang out with Crusoe for a minute. There are some pretty dark clouds on the horizon over there. We think it's going to rain any minute. You know the Scottish weather. So we've decided to run down and have a look at the gorge and the waterfall first, and then take the longer walk second.
Ooh. No, these rocks were originally part of an ancient sea. About 1,000 to 870 million years ago. That's cool, isn't it?
1,000 to 870 million years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool, isn't it?
Look how deep it is.
It's incredible, I had no idea.
I had no idea either. Really far down. That must be 100 meters.
The depth of that waterfall. Look at it, it's massive.
By now we've been on the NC 500 for 5 days, passing castle ruins, beaches and waterfalls, driving through valleys and along spectacular coastlines. But it's fair to say that this next section of the journey was probably my favourite. The road turns back west and runs along the side of Loch Ascent, winding its way through the mountain valleys, along the sides of rivers and through pretty villages, with the occasional award-winning beach along the way.
We're on our way to the first of 2 beaches I'd like to see today, which are top-rated beaches. This one is called Achmelvik, I think is how you say it.
Well done.
The road, it's a bit hectic. We just passed a sign on this section of the NC 500. We're going down a really cool second peninsula, sorry about the bouncing. It is not advised for caravans and motorhomes to come this way, so hopefully we'll be alright, but I know it's probably the most challenging part of the drive.
Should we go for a swim?
No.
No. Lovely beach.
Stop standing still, guys. There's things to do, places to see.
All right, well, I think we've seen that.
Okay, is that it then?
Yep, next place.
Next place. Blimey.
Tight. Yeah, you definitely don't want to bring a caravan down this road.
No ways.
Yeah, so this section of the road is absolutely 100% like driving along a roller coaster, except you're not on rails. You've got to concentrate. The roads are like this, like this, like this, like this. It's quite good fun driving, but certainly after about an hour of doing it, you get sore shoulders. And the roads are really narrow. It's fun.
Well done, my love.
Look at that cruise, and we're going over a big bridge. I know, crazy. That's alright, isn't
it? We just had the most extraordinary realisation. So, last year, after lockdown, as soon as Boris said that we were allowed to be outside and exercising a lot, we set off for Penzance and decided we were going to cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats.
Check out the link here. It's a nice video. It's one of our first ones. It's
yeah, really, really fun. So we started that route and we got as far as Telford, but we had to stop because I found out that I was pregnant with Crusoe, and so we thought, well, we best slow down. Weirdly, John just said to me, I wonder what date last year we were in at Land's End, starting out on that trip.
Because we're heading over to John O'Groats right now, and that would have been the end of the trip. So.
Exactly. So we are scheduled to get into John O'Groats tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 15th of May, and just by extraordinary coincidence, we were at Land's End starting the journey on the 15th of May 2020.
That's so cool. Oh man.
So wow. It took us a year to get to John O'Groats.
It did. But what I love about that is that there's circles there, and there's stories, and there's unfinished journeys and journeys to be completed. And one day, I'm sure, perhaps with Crusoe on the back or with Crusoe alongside, we'll finish that bicycle ride from Telford up to John O'Groats. But for now, we'll have to make do with driving to John O'Groats exactly 1 year later.
Isn't that just the coolest thing ever?
Oh, brilliant.
Love it. Good morning, my darling.
Morning. Yeah, we've got the gas stove on. Trying to use it as a bit of a heater because it's been a cold night last night. But the coffee is ready.
Yay!
We're going to take a walk from where we're parked up over to a cave that has a waterfall falling inside it.
Smooth caves. We are up, I think it's called Doness is where we are now.
Doness, yeah.
And today we're off to John O'Groats.
Yeah, John O'Groats, because it's exactly 1 year after we set off on our bicycle ride from Land's End, which kind of was the beginning of all of the adventures, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah.
Yeah, it was after that we were like, no, I don't want to go back to work, really.
Yeah.
We just want to quit and go and have some fun.
And here we are.
Yeah, so yeah, let's have a cup of coffee and head on off.
Thank you very much.
Crusoe's in a particularly good mood this morning.
He is.
Smoo is Norse for cave, which is cool. And these caves have had evidence of Vikings in them. So Viking workshops, there's ship nails, rivets and metal slags, and even knife handles made out of bone, dating back to the 12th to 13th centuries.
Did you hear that, Crusoe? You're a Viking, you're from Viking Blood.
Evidence of past life in this cave is dated back to about 7,000 years ago, when the first hunter-gatherers arrived in the north of Scotland. Isn't that cool?
So thanks to the fact that we're travelling with a 10-week-old baby, we're up very early this morning, which is cool because we can come and see the caves super early, which is what we like to do. And it looks like we might be here on our own, which is also our favourite thing to do. First people to arrive, Crusoe. He says, no worries, chaps, that's why I got you off at 4 a.m.
Cool about this cave is that the front part of it is created by sea erosion, and the back part has a river coming through, and it's all limestone in this area, so it eroded it from the inside as well. And then the roof collapsed and we have a cave. So there's two different types of caves that make one big cave.
Brilliant.
Someone who knows a bit more about geography and geology would be able to give you a much better explanation, but you get the idea.
Pretty beautiful, isn't it?
That's very cool.
That's an unexpected bonus. So don't forget, after you've been to the viewpoint, come over the road, cross the road, and that little bit takes you on top of the waterfall. Quite weird to think that the road goes over that cave. I don't think I'm comforted by that.
So the road from Doness to Tongue crosses a huge expanse of peat bog, and it's absolutely fascinating. We've just been to a very small house that used to be a waypoint. Tara will tell you a bit about it in a minute. A halfway point between Doness and Tongue. But this peat bog out here, it's the depth. It started being laid down straight after the last ice age, which was 11,000 years ago. The ice started to retreat from here. So the moss started to build up 11,000 years ago. It's now the depth of a 2-story house. Imagine how deep that moss is out there. And then imagine back in the olden days, before there was a road that crossed this bog, how difficult it was to get across here. I mean, it's just bog basically all the way. So pretty tricky and pretty desolate. And it must have been a really dangerous, treacherous journey to get from Den Ester tongue back in the olden days.
So Moin House is where we've just stopped, and it was a halfway point on this treacherous crossing of peat. Moin means moss or peat in Gaelic. That house offered refuge for travellers between the Kyle of Tongue and the Loch Hope on the western side. In 1881 there was an old man there, he was 80 years old, living there with his daughter, son-in-law and 5 grandchildren, and it's a really small house. So if you were to stop there looking for refuge, you would have found it pretty cramped. It's a beautiful stopping point, and you can see the old road and the old route that leads right up to the front door of that house as the halfway point between it all.
We are now heading to the most northerly point on mainland Great Britain. It's not John O'Groats, it's a place called Dunnet Head, which is contrary to popular belief. Now, the reason why it's called Dunnet Head is because back in the day there was a fella that drove all the way from London up here, and he was surveying the whole area. He got his maps out and his compasses. And when he got to the very top, I mean, it's very complicated. He did for a long time think John O'Groats was the most northerly part of the entire United Kingdom mainland, that is. Of course, there are islands further north, Orkney Islands, all that jazz. Anyway, when he finally realised that Dunnet Head was the most northerly point, he sat down, got his tea out and his sandwich and went, done it. And that is why Dunnet Head is called Dunnet Head.
Darling, if it wasn't for the cheeky smile halfway through that ridiculous tale, you might have got me. I doubt it, but maybe.
That behind us is mainland Britain's most northerly point. We made it. Dunnet Head, we done it. We done it. We done it.
From here, it's quite incredible, and we've got lucky, it's a clear day. You can see Cape Wrath in the west, all over there, and obviously the Orkney Islands up here. And all of these derelict buildings around this particular point are from the Second World War, where there were servicemen stationed to keep an eye on the waters from this end. And on the Orkney Islands is an area called Scapa Flow, which is where it was the target of a lot of bombings, and there was a submarine raid approaching, and so they sunk a whole bunch of fishermen's ships into the water so that the submarines couldn't come in.
That was a good idea.
Wasn't it?
Love it.
Yeah, the really cool thing about Dunnet Head is that these particular cliffs are an amazing site for nesting seabirds, and in particular puffins. Now, I might be the only idiot in the world, but I thought puffins were the size of a penguin. They're really not. They're little pocket-sized sweet things. We left our binos, which is so frustrating, so we'll have to come back because we can't really see them. But you can just see them nipping out the rocks. There goes a couple there.
So we've made it to John O'Groats, the kind of official northern part of mainland Great Britain.
So cool. We were meant to be here on our bikes, but we're here exactly a year later to the day, which feels so serendipitous and just perfect. And with little Crusoe, who stopped us in our bicycle tracks. Thanks so much for watching. As always, don't forget to hit the like button, leave us a comment, and do subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week.